Graphic design? Can you make a living at that?
Three, two, one, fun, 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 fun.
Welcome to Design Futures, a show about what happens after design school. I'm Chris St. Cyr, and my guest on this episode is Ron Gibbons and Mackenzie Carey. How are you?
Great.
Ron and Mackenzie are the designers and co-founders of Macaroni Creative, where they work on brand identity, web design, and packaging for food and beverage companies. Some of the clients are Turn Up the Beat, Joe B's Famous Sandwiches, Cleveland Kitchen, and Dr. Milo. Their work has been featured on The Die Line and Grits and Grids. Ron is a 2012 graduate of the Sage Colleges, and Mackenzie is a 2014 graduate of the College of St. Rose. Phew, I got it all out. And I didn't mess it up. Well, I did in the original, but we'll edit that out. So let's just clarify this right now. Ron was a student of mine when I was at Sage for a couple of years, but Mackenzie was in the program my first year, right? Your senior year was my first year?
Yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunately, you weren't in class with me.
No, I didn't have the pleasure of being in your class, but
Well,
there are lots of good things. So.
Yeah.
Connected by association.
Yeah.
Right. So your senior year was my first year, and I only taught a few of your classmates. It was like a small group in that. I think at that point it was still called advanced web design, but there was like 6 or 7 of them. So yeah. So how are you? We're going to get into how you guys came together and started your company. So I don't know what's going on. Where are the puppies? That's what everybody really wants to know.
They're like under our feet. That's what we were saying. If I'm gonna apologize in advance for if they start barking or making noise, because they'll be quiet all day, and then the second we're like on the phone or talking to someone, then they all of a sudden like get this burst of energy and decide they need a lot of attention. So
yeah, tell us about what this Macaroni Creative, what you two do together. How did it all start? Because as I mentioned, you're 2 years apart in sort of your graduation years, but you work together now. And so what's the immediate, the most recent history of starting the company and what you were doing right after school?
So,
You can go.
okay. Yeah, I tend to talk over Ron a lot, so I'll try to be cognizant of that.
I always remember Ron being quiet, so
That's why we work well together.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a nice balance going.
I understand.
Well, we started dating when I was in high school and he was a freshman in college. So I actually first started doing design because he was doing it and I was, that seems really awesome. So I can credit him to even getting me into the design field. But yeah, so then we both kind of after graduating, I got a job down in New York and I was planning to move down here. So Ron was already working up in the Kingston area.
Yeah, once she got the job down here, it was time for me to find something down here as well. And luckily within like about a month, I went and found this job down here too. And we both moved from the Kingston area to Queens, where we are located right now.
Yeah, and then kind of over the years, we both worked at a number of different agencies.
Mm-hmm.
And we always, both being designers, we always, I think, kind of had this dream of having the opportunity to work together at some point. And I think originally it was kind of more of a way down the road type plan where we're like, oh, maybe one day we can start our own studio and kind of as just a way to make side money and have the opportunity to be creative and do work together. We started taking on freelance work and we both really loved working together. It kind of just snowballed really quickly. We both had a lot of individual experience working in the food and beverage space. And it's weird because it's such a big industry, but so many people run in the same circles. So kind of by word of mouth, we started getting a couple clients. And then in like a relatively short period of time, we just found ourselves pretty inundated with work. We pretty
much worked in like 2 full-time jobs. It would be like go to the office from 9 to, well, at my old job, I was working pretty late hours, 9 till 10 or 11 at night. And then we'd come home, stay up until 2, 3 in the morning and then do it all over again. So we're just, all right, we got to pick one. It's either stop freelancing or stop the full-time job. And we're like, why not give it a go? And 3 years ago, that's when we took the leap. We both quit our jobs at the exact same times, just dove right in. And
is that scary?
Yeah, it was definitely
Just a little bit.
scary. I mean, at the time we were honestly making more money freelancing on like as a part-time thing than we even were at our day jobs. We had like a cushion saved up. Luckily, like living in a city where there's so much opportunity, where worst case scenario, like if it's not working out, we'll figure it out. We'll find new jobs or, we both liked our old companies. So it was a little bit tough leaving, but we also left on like really good terms. So
When you left those companies, because you left on good terms, you said, so did you get any work from them?
Yeah, that actually happened. When we left, my job gave us a decent amount of work. It was an agency that specialized in like restaurant branding, so it was still in the food bev space too. And it was a pretty small company, so a designer left pretty much a couple of weeks before me, and then I left then too. It just kind of randomly happened that way. So they were a little shorthanded as it was. So they could use my help. I could use a little bit of extra work from them. It was a nice little safety net that we had when we first started.
Did you make that decision and then save your money and put it away and kind of come up with a plan, and then both of you left your job?
It's probably like, I'd say like about a month, 2 months.
well,
Well, I mean,
no.
we were building it up for a while, but when we were actually going to go and actually pull the trigger doing it, it was probably with a month decision, because it was actually coming to like one of the year-end reviews, and we're kind of wanting to go and see what my job was going to go and do with me financially, with a raise and things like that. I was like, if I get what I want, then I'll stay. We decided it made more sense to go and hop off and do our own thing.
We had been freelancing, kind of building it up for probably almost a full year prior, I would say.
Yeah,
Like it
even
started
more.
off a little bit slower. It wasn't like a month from our first freelance project
Right.
to quitting. It was probably a year of doing it a little bit more seriously. And then prior to that, we were taking projects like here and there. So
Yeah, pretty much since we graduated, I was always doing freelance works. It was like a really slow build, and that just gave us a nice opportunity to make mistakes then when it didn't really matter. When we had that safety net of a full-time job, and just kind of learn from there and grow. And we both had the opportunity to work at small agencies throughout our careers, so we got into the nitty-gritty a lot and just learned a lot from our bosses and different coworkers of kind of how like the business side of things work too.
So one thing that certainly students and parents of students, they're always worried about the financial aspect. And I use the word scary because like you're pretty young, you're doing this, both of you, like it's just you, and you left your job. Can you give us a salary range of the salaries you had at these companies that you left to go do your own project? You were what, junior designers or senior designers? What were your level and how many years, and kind of how does that impact the salary range that you guys were working at?
By the time we left, we were both senior designers. We definitely had a range, over the years. My first job, I think I was making like 28,000 at a sign company when I first graduated. Did that. Then when we moved to the city, I worked at a smaller agency that did a lot of digital work, websites, infographics, social media, that sort of thing. I think I got bumped up to 38,000. Then I got a couple raises there, going to about 50 something thousand. And then my final job, where I was a senior designer at another agency, I was making 70,000.
Mine was kind of similar. There was a really significant jump. I was making kind of as like an entry level designer at like my first agency job, I was making 32. And then in like about a year and a half later, I jumped to like another job and my salary almost doubled. Yeah, I was making about 70 also when quit.
And so now you're making something comparable that you can sustain that and build a company and do all the things you need to do.
Yeah, we're actually making quite a bit more than that now. Which is nice.
That's good.
Yeah, kind of the best of all worlds, because you get to have total creative control, do work we like, and yeah, we're definitely making significantly more. So
you have to as an entrepreneur, right? Because you got to cover all the costs.
Pretty much when we quit, though, we were like, if we can make within 10,000 or 20,000 to be able to go and have a little bit more flexibility and just kind of do what we want and work that we want to work on, that'd be great. Yeah, then as it just built up, it worked out pretty well.
And that sort of leads me to this question I am really curious about. So you mentioned your former companies, you were doing work in this food, beverage, restaurant area, and now that's your focus. The focus of your company now, was that a result of that, or where did that decision come from? Did you know when you were in college or in your first job, you're like, I really like this kind of design, this kind of content to design for?
I wouldn't say we necessarily knew. We definitely didn't know in college. In college, I had absolutely no interest in packaging or really food and beverage. But my first job, that was the bulk of what I did. It was almost exclusively branding and packaging for the food and beverage space. And I kind of took it because I had graduated. I was, okay, I need a job, kind of took the first thing that kind of came to me. And then I was like, wow, I really, really love this. And I feel like I really just took to it right away. The work is like super fun. For me, it felt like a really great fit. And then from there, I did jump around. I had the opportunity to do some other types of work, but I found myself really missing the food and beverage space. And because Ron also had a good amount of food and beverage experience, it seemed kind of a natural area. Like if we were going to niche down and kind of specialize in something, it just really seemed like a natural fit. And I think it was probably one of the best things we could have done for our business. When you pick a specific niche, I think it makes it so much easier to really sell yourself. And especially with like the packaging and things like that, there's obviously the design component, but then there's so many regulations and there's so many other factors like kind of managing the production and all these tertiary skill sets that help to make that process so much smoother for the client. So I think it makes it easier to be, oh, we've done this a million times. We can take the project from concept all the way through to seeing it on the shelves, and we know exactly how that process is going to go, and we know what size to make the net weight, and we know exactly which panel to put the nutrition facts. So I think it's a combination of having the design skills, but then also some of those technical skills that differentiate us from other talented designers out there.
Yeah, definitely. And I was kind of debating it. Mackenzie was a little bit more set on the food and beverage thing when we first started. And I was like, well, I don't know if we should limit ourselves to that, because I kind of had more of a roundabout, career path up to there. Like my first job was at a sign shop, just doing like different wayfinding systems and then just small mom and pop type things. Then at the other agency I went to, I did a lot of digital stuff, worked for some bigger clients, Facebook and Google. But, it was like smaller things for them. It didn't really have that feel where we got from some of our freelance clients where you really have an effect on what they're doing. We knew at least one of those had to go by a lot of times. But then I was picking up some freelance work in that Joe B's Deli. It's like a place in Kingston. Pretty good friends with the owners, so they didn't really have a design, system in place or legit branding or anything like that. So for freelance, I went and just did some work there, and then a company went and saw it on Dribbble where I just posted it. So it was a project that I just did for fun and not really for a money thing. I got a bunch of free subs, which was nice.
Right? Yeah, subs for life, right?
Then a company saw that, and that's kind of how I got into the restaurant stuff and the food and beverage thing. So I only had about a year and a half of food and beverage experience before we made that decision between my portfolio and Mackenzie's portfolio. Just whenever we got clients hitting us up on our personal sites, since we had so much food and beverage stuff in there, it was always just another food and beverage person, and that just kept snowballing and snowballing.
At the 2 Communique, where I do a little bit of design work when I'm not teaching, we work with a business consultant, and Emily Cohen is her name. She was there in New York. I think she's in Philadelphia now, but she
came into my first company that I was working at, and we did like a workshop.
And other business consultants that she focuses on the creative industry, they'll say the same thing. This idea of specializing, right? So a lot of the things that you just mentioned, Mackenzie, of like really, really knowing the space and some of the, the creative challenges, but also the technical challenges, but just that kind of specialization from the outside perspective helps sell yourselves as like experts in that area. But then internally, that you could do other things, and that might come along as part of some job or some project. But that specialization seems right now it's definitely working out for you. I mean, I've talked to a few people that all three of us know, and they've all said you guys are just doing great. You're constantly busy. And so make sure you take a break and go, hang out with your friends on Zoom or wherever.
They said they were missing us.
I got the sense. I don't know. So I do let's take a look at some of that work that you're referencing.
Yeah, this is for Cleveland Kitchen. They do fermented food. So pretty much they're known for like the Cleveland kraut. It's all these different crazy flavors of sauerkraut, and they're nationally distributed. They're one of our bigger clients, and they just really didn't have a web presence before they came to us, because originally they were just doing retail, and they just wanted a site to show off different recipes, educate on the brand, and just kind of a marketing site like that. And then COVID hit, and then they decided they needed to make the shift to e-commerce. So that focus kind of shifted a little bit.
You're doing the design. Who's doing the development?
This one we used a program called Webflow. We use that a lot if it's not an e-commerce site. They're working on their e-com right now. It's starting to get a bit better, but It's definitely lacking a little bit compared to Shopify. So this one actually started out off on Webflow. I've gotten pretty familiar with it over the years, and we did all the design and then developed it inside of Webflow. And then we actually shifted over to Shopify, which a lot of our e-commerce clients use because they just have like all these great back-end apps that can send more subscriptions, like different statistics. They could really go and streamline that e-com side of things. Yeah, so we did the design and the development for it.
Yeah, we do have some development partners though that will outsource. If the client has the budget for a totally custom developed Shopify site, that's kind of ideal for us because then we can really, the sky's the limit with design, and then we just can pass it off to them and they can make it happen. But
then just go over it at the end with them.
When you're doing something like this with Webflow, that you're doing the development, how are you handling the design if there's limitations with, say, some template or something, some tools within Webflow? Are you saying like, yeah, this is a proposal, but we don't really know if we can do some of this, or how does that work out?
Webflow is pretty great. I'm like a huge advocate of Webflow because you can pretty much do anything in it. It's way more advanced than any other one I've used. They have great animations. Layout wise, you're not stuck in a template system. The nice thing about that is it uses coding terms, it uses padding, margin, flex boxes, and things like that. It really helped because back at Sage, I took some web development and I can code a site, or I used to be able to code a site. As time went on, I just figured, I should just focus on what I'm good at and, give it to the professionals to go and handle more of but the great thing about Webflow is, you can do pretty much anything.
Webflow should be paying Ron because of all the people he's sent their way.
I think Erica was talking about it when I was talking to her. So here's another one, Family Foods. What's this one?
We partnered with this brand called Reimagined Foods, and kind of their whole strategy is they pretty much partner with influencers who already have this large audience, and they'll work with them to build brands. We kind of collaborated with them on this, and they wanted something that really kind of matched her aesthetic, and her name is Rachel.
Yep.
And she has, she kind of had some ideas for what she was looking for. So we kind of collaborated with her, their team, and then kind of came up with this design solution. But it's like a chickpea-based pancake product. They wanted something that felt just really inviting and fun. And kind of her whole message is like she wanted this to be kind of encourage people to enjoy like quality time with their loved ones around the table, and kind of wanted the brand to like reflect this like fun and inviting vibe, I guess.
I think I have another. So are you doing the illustration on the front? Is that something you guys are doing, or do you hire an illustrator?
Yeah, Mackenzie did all those.
Yeah, pretty much any of our work, we do all the illustration ourselves.
And all these are from that same system?
We pretty much do mostly everything on our website. We don't really hire out that much. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to, make the leap and do our own thing. It's just so we could have complete control over it. And
I think we both are pretty versatile. Like we don't have like a super rigid style, and we kind of love the challenge of exploring different design styles. Prior to starting every project, we go through a mood boarding phase, and we'll pull a bunch of inspiration and talk that through with the client. And we try to make sure every project really has its own unique look and feel that's super specific to the brand and totally aligns with their goals.
That's one of the nice things too, even though that we specialize in food and beverage, so many of our brands we work with have different aesthetics or different target audiences that we're working towards. Every project's kind of different, and we can work in a bunch of different styles, even though it's all within the same industry.
Never gets repetitive or boring.
That's why I picked this range and this one too. Like it's more typographic. So what's this one here?
Yeah, this is Mellis. The funny thing is this is actually both for that Reimagined Food. So we did that working with a different influencer who had a little bit more of a premium, sophisticated style. This one wasn't as family oriented as the first one was. This one was more towards people from 25 to 40, leaning towards women.
It's funny too, because I feel like they're pretty reflective kind of our personal styles. Mine tend to always be a little bit more on the playful side, and Ron likes everything really clean and like loves a good grid and very like refined typography. So for people who know us pretty well, I feel like it's usually pretty easy for our friends, our designer friends to pick out, Matt probably did that, or like Ron did that. I think our personal styles kind of
definitely reflected.
You can definitely reflect it, or personal taste, I should say.
Yeah, which is good because we balance each other out. Like we'll be giving feedback, and Mackenzie will be like, "Oh, maybe make this a little bit more loose and playful," and I'll be like, "Maybe you should align this to this thing."
Yeah, there's this other project I found has a sense of typography or focused on typography too. Maybe Ron, you could talk about this one here.
Do
you remember this project? This food project?
I remember when we had to go and mock it up, I went to the movie theater to go and get like a big cup for it. And I remember they wouldn't let me go and have one, so I had to go and wait. And when someone was walking out, obviously this was pre-COVID days, so I couldn't do this, and I asked them for their cup to go and get it to bring it into the class because they wouldn't give me a free one, and I wasn't going to pay $10 for a movie theater soda when I was on my college budget.
Right. I had to look it up, like some of the details, but sort of like a culture jamming kind of project about food and sort of doing some labeling that kind of reference a social issue or a food issue.
My food and beverage career started in your class.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna take some of that credit. It's like, wow, look at all that. It just came from this one project about too much sugar in our diet. It does bring up a question though of, are there kinds of companies that make certain food and beverage that you wouldn't work for or that you have declined? I mean, has that come up, or have you talked about it as business partners, and like, where do we draw the line?
We definitely turn down a good amount of work. I wouldn't say it's usually for necessarily ethical reasons. We're a really small team. We have to be, a little bit selective about who we work with. And I think just in terms of finding people that we feel we really connect with, kind of vetting our clients to make sure, in the past, there have been like a lot of red flags that we've ignored, or, oh, we really want this job, so we're going to, even though they have this ridiculous timeline, or they don't seem like they really, necessarily appreciate or respect the design process, we'll kind of bend our process to accommodate them. And then now that we have a few years under our belt, I feel like we've learned that always kind of comes back around to bite you. And we really love working with people. I mean, we're so lucky. I feel like all of our clients really have been pretty amazing, and they're all great people. And I feel like we do really believe in pretty much all the products that we've designed for. We get a lot of really great samples, which is nice. We have like a closet full of free food. But I think that
pantry's full, huh?
Yeah. So I feel like it's less, I guess, declining things for ethical reasons and more, sometimes people come to us where it just feels it's not necessarily great, like personality fit, or, we also like to work with people who are really passionate about their company. And I feel like that really shows through kind of in the way they talk about it, the way they talk about their product, like when it's a product that they really believe in versus, oh, it's just someone who's trying to like make a quick buck, or, it's like I think it's a little bit more, I guess, to do with the business owner than necessarily the product.
A while back, there was they did cigarettes and like vapes and things like that, and we turned that one down.
There was another one that actually came to us. They pretty much like had a design that they wanted us to pretty much rip off, is what they were asking us to do. And we were like, absolutely not. We're like, this is not okay. You shouldn't be asking anyone to do this. I guess that was probably our only other real kind of dilemma.
Well, good for you. I mean, that's definitely something that lots of designers encountered, right? You just find somebody and like, hey, can you, copy this design? I did poll some students recently, and Cedric Brown was a sophomore that I had. So his question is, how do you seek out clients? It sounds like a lot of people have found you, but as far as like seeking out clients, do you, look at certain companies and try to work for them? You target them? And
one of the biggest way we got clients, we actually stumbled upon this Facebook group that has all these food and beverage founders in it. And it's just, there's really no designers in it. I mean, now it's kind of growing a little bit, but when we first started, there weren't many designers in it. And they just talk about all these different things in their industry, from logistics to design. And sometimes they'll pop up and be like, oh, we're looking for new packaging. Does anyone have anyone? Mackenzie hopped in there the one time and
you recommended Ron?
Yeah. Pretty much I was like, I recommend myself.
Yeah. Right. Pretty much the day she hopped in, though, someone was looking for it. It was our client Bare Bones. We've been working with them for like 3 years now, and it was like the day after she hopped in.
Yeah, so. I joined this group, and I think it was within a half an hour of joining the group, someone's like, our packaging designer dropped out. We really need someone, and I got in touch with them, and pretty much they got back to us immediately. And then they've been one of our best and like most consistent clients. We've worked really closely with them for 3 years now, and they've introduced us to like so many other clients, and kind of through those clients, kind of without that one connection, we owe so much business to them. But that group in general, on top of it being a great resource to kind of meet clients, I think that's one of the nice things about specializing is you can kind of find these, these different communities or platforms, people of this industry are all kind of congregated.
Right. I think overall that's like, a good strategy to have. I mean, we like design conferences and things like that. But, trying to find different events that industries that you're trying to work with are having, where it's all professionals in that industry, and then you're kind of the commodity there, the one unique designer there, where you're going to stand out more.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously do all the, we do share our work on Behance, Dribble, Instagram. Right. We take advantage of our social platforms and all that. And, neither of us are huge social media people. It kind of always feels a little bit like a necessary evil to us, but we have gotten a decent amount of work through those.
Yeah, that was another question from one of my sophomores, Bryce Ratner. He asked that, like, how do you promote your work? Like, so you put it on your own website, but also you mentioned Behance, Instagram, anything else?
We used to do Dribble more, but that's fallen off a little. We actually just got a job off of it a couple of months ago, but that was like the first one in a couple of years. But yeah, Instagram is really big, and then Behance has actually done pretty well. In college, I used Behance more, and then I kind of dropped off and didn't think it was really doing anything, and then I updated it, and all of a sudden we got a bunch of inquiries from it. So that's definitely a good one to get.
We also have a profile on the dye line.
That one's all packaging specific.
So you mentioned Behance. So let's transition to that, like the Behance, Adobe Live. Were both of you on, or was it just Ron? You were on one of the live streams? Yeah. And so what were you talking about?
We were talking about kind of how to go and take initial concepts to the first round of a presentation that we go and show our clients, just our process from vetting them on a discovery call, putting together mood boards, kind of my design process when we're working on a packaging, kind of putting it all together into a nicely wrapped presentation that you're going to be able to sell them on.
So on that live stream, were you designing?
Yeah, I was in Illustrator going and designing, kind of just breaking down, the different techniques I've done over the years. Their audience is a little bit younger, so kind of getting into some of that technical stuff was good to do too. And just things that you take for granted as you keep going in your career, and you use these different shortcuts and stuff like that. It was kind of good to kind of walk through it and just kind of explain what I was doing, and just kind of like the thinking behind our process, and walking through how we go and take that initial concept and putting it all together into a finalized design. Because, when we first started doing these presentations, we just go and slap a logo on a white piece of paper and, ship it off to the client, and they'd be like, oh, this looks cool, or it doesn't. But, now we go through this whole process where we mock everything up, and, we put it application just to the different designs that we're doing that really goes and helps them visualize it and sell it. Because, we all have these great ideas in our head of, what this little logo is going to go and do in the future, but, a lot of our clients can't visualize it. So, I broke that down.
I was trying to remember the order. Did Erica Cotton do the live stream first, and then she recommended you, or was it the other way around?
Yep, she did it first. One of my projects that I put on Behance got featured on there in one of the galleries that they have, and then the team, I think, found me off of there.
It's interesting. I had another former student from further back in my career, but somebody from the University of Denver, and she did some work did some backgrounds and did some illustration work for Adobe and for the XD team. And
nice.
Awesome.
I think everybody at some point will probably work for Adobe or have some contact with Adobe. And then more recently, you have class or a course that was promoted a few months ago. Maybe what was that one about?
We were contacted by this company called Nerdaby that is starting a series of online courses, but kind of more focused on creativity and process and less focused on the technical aspects.
So my Adobe class was a little bit more technical, where this is more, conceptual, I guess.
Yeah. So we had to come up with a series of lessons that pretty much took from client brief through to client presentation, and we kind of walked through our process, but this was packaging specific. We kind of showed everything from, we always start with a discovery call. So we kind of walk through that, which is, we have a questionnaire that we'll go through and to kind of gain some insight on the client and learn the ins and outs of their business. And then from there, we do mood boarding, and we showed them how our ideation process works. And again, kind of how we all mock it up and wrap it up into a final presentation. And yeah, that was really fun. That was a cool opportunity. It was definitely challenging to teach. Props to all our teachers.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like being on the spot. We didn't even have a class, but just trying to talk to a camera, we're blanking out. We're like, this is so hard. But it was definitely a really great experience.
And so where can people find, there's a video or a series of videos?
Yep, it's a series of videos. It's on nerdaby.com. We also have a link on our Instagram. If you go to there, there's the link in bio type thing.
Okay, it's time for pop quiz. I got a series of quick questions, quick answers. How do you back up your files?
Dropbox.
Yeah, we use Dropbox.
Okay.
That's like, I know I can't fail this.
Yeah.
We use Dropbox, and then we do have like external hard drives that will
Yeah.
like will back it up.
That we're
but-
bad about using.
Yeah, but Dropbox is kind of our main server.
So I've been asking everybody, and this is so specific to the two of you though. Favorite work beverage while you're working? What are you drinking?
Coffee.
Coffee, more coffee.
20 coffees.
Yeah, Ron.
Well, my favorite is a Red Bull, but I'm trying to kick those. So, I drink a lot of seltzer too. Give me that
All right.
carbonation fix too.
This one might be harder because you guys work some odd hours sometimes. But what about your after work beverage?
We're not picky.
Yeah, we're not picky.
The day's over. What's available?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, another food. What's your favorite junk food?
Have you ever had pop chips?
Yes.
They're like just like little like light. I could eat like a family size bag in like a sitting. They are so good, and we like always have them. We don't really buy too many snack foods because we're
Yeah.
both really bad with just like mindlessly snacking. But that's like the one thing we get every week. And Ron will be like, "Where'd those pop chips go?" And I'm just like, "Oh, awkward."
Yeah.
She's on the savory side. I'm a sweet guy. We just
Oh.
don't even keep any like chocolate in the house because I'll eat it within like the day or two.
Yeah,
Like,
you just can't keep it around.
yeah, we took like cookies back from my parents' house when we got back from Christmas, and they were gone in like 2 days. It was like a whole big day.
Yeah.
We ate a cleanse after that.
He's sweet. I'm salty.
Yeah, that works out. Okay, sketchbook, gridded or blank?
I like gridded.
I like the gridded too.
So we saw some examples of both type or image. You can only pick one.
Image.
Type.
We gotta have my type on the grid. All right. So I don't know when this episode's gonna air, but right now, all the interwebs, everything is all talking about the new Burger King. Thumbs up or thumbs down, the new Burger King identity?
Thumbs up. I like it.
Yeah.
Thumbs up, yeah.
The monogram's awesome. It's so simple, but
Really
Yeah,
clever.
really clever, and yeah.
I'd agree. I like it. It looks great. Do you listen to music while you're working? If so, what genre of music are you listening to?
Kind of like indie folk, I'd
Yeah.
say.
What Spotify say it was? Stomp and holler. I didn't know it was the genre.
We're like
That's-
that sounds so bad, but it's basically just folk rock.
Yeah,
We're like,
like a
okay,
little bit more
why
upbeat.
couldn't you just say that?
Yeah.
I think Spotify just making up genre
Yeah. I got my
names.
year in review and I was like, what is this? I was like,
Yeah,
it's
I've
a-
never heard that one before.
But what we really listen to, I'm obsessed with like true crime podcasts. So
Oh.
I have like a whole roster of true crime, and Ron, I've pretty much like just forced him to listen to it like every day for like years
Yeah.
now. And
Oh,
now-
another murder. Great.
yeah,
I
nothing
got
to
sucked into it.
nothing to brighten your day like some good
Yeah.
murder.
Well, it's like we listen to murder for a while and then we'll switch to the nice calm folk music to chill us back out.
Yeah.
After
Again,
hours.
the balance.
All right. Laptop or desktop?
I work on my laptop almost exclusively. We do have a desktop over there that's kind of collecting dust.
I have my laptop, but it's connected to a monitor, and I use like a mouse and keyboard separately. So pretty much a desktop. I'm always at my desk working on this with like my 2 monitors and everything, and Mackenzie's usually on the couch with her laptop.
With like the dogs on my side. Like,
All right. Last question, because it is about the dogs. Harvey and Milo's favorite treat.
they like Greenies. They're like the dental sticks.
Oh yeah, I've seen
And
those,
he
yeah.
just looked up.
Yeah,
He's
it's
like,
perked up.
what'd you just say?
Is it treat time? Well, we gotta wrap up. So, any last words of wisdom for any budding designers?
I think when you're first graduating, like don't feel too committed to pick a style or pick exactly where you're going into. Because I mean, like obviously now we have our niche and what we do every day, but there's a lot of trial and error there, trying different things. Just I like this, I don't like this. I can take this experience into another job, and I definitely recommend getting like a full-time job before you go into the freelance or running your own studio or something like that. There's a lot to learn from other people.
Mackenzie?
I was actually gonna say something extremely similar.
We do that a lot.
But I was pretty much gonna say I think just be like very open-minded when like kind of early on in your career, and you're gonna have jobs that you really like and you're gonna have jobs that maybe you don't like as much. But I think just trying to keep a positive attitude and good work ethic at every job. There have been jobs that I really didn't like very much, but at the end of the day, I got these great connections and great experiences and good portfolio pieces. There are gonna be good takeaways from every job. There's going to be pros and cons.
Good advice. Don't be too narrow-minded at the beginning of all this, right? Go explore and meet people and have experiences, and before you branch out. It's so great to talk to you guys.
Yeah,
you too.
likewise. Thanks so much for
All right. Thanks. So what do we learn from Ron and Mackenzie? Work for other people right out of school. I definitely agree with that. You should go and get a few years of education on the job before you start your own design firm. Learn from people about design, about business, about different content areas that you're interested in designing for. Also, find a business group of people that really know their business and join them. Maybe it's a Facebook group or at a conference. And finally, surround yourself with good people, both in life and in business. I think Ron and Mackenzie, as a husband and wife team, have certainly figured that out, both in their life and in the clients they work for. Thanks to Ron Gibbons and Mackenzie Carey. If you have any questions or comments for me or any of the guests, please leave them in the comments and subscribe so you can catch the next episode of Design Futures. Until next time, go learn something. Your future depends on it. Thanks for listening. See ya.